Hey guys, good to see so many familiar faces already in the chat. Always happy to see that. Don, we love you. Oh, I love you too. I love you too. I've had a long day, so I'm gonna be a little bit on the quieter side of things today, but we'll have our fun regardless. Audio, video, good. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. As always, Flary Reuter coming to the rescue. So yeah, we'll talk about Bitcoin. I mean, it's gone up, so that's always nice. So there's something to talk about there. And then we'll talk about ETH because I mean, ETH's just been a little bit weak on the Bitcoin pair side of things. So we'll talk about that as well. And then I'm down to kind of look at altcoins that you guys suggest. I think if you don't have any other suggestion, and then next week we'll do something new. I've got some things planned. But before we start, shout out to Blockfolio for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. And yeah, there's gonna be ref links in the future, and we're gonna be talking about Blockfolio for a while, I hope. So really appreciate them supporting the show. Guten Abend, guten Abend. I think they will pass stimulus bill while on stream. That'd be interesting. That will be. I don't even know at this point what it would do to markets because the market has just been so crazy that I mean this could be front running. The stimulus bill could just be strength. I mean in general, when you look at Bitcoin, right, we've gone up, but so has the SPX, right? So fell back into previous. You can actually. Into previous support. A really nice structure that you're getting on the traditional markets over and over and over again is these breakdowns into full reclaims into retests. It's the same thing that happened here, right? So it's something to watch out for. It happens over and over and over again. So I mean you can scroll back, it's like it happened a million times. So that is something to watch out for. I like that setup a lot in crypto as well. So just a side note. But yeah, Bitcoin's been going up, so let's talk about that first. Yeah, I mean, what basically happened? I mean, it's been the last time we streamed was basically this red candle, I think. And yeah, we hit resistance, got some traditional market sell off, and that had an impact on Bitcoin, but only a tiny one, right? If you're looking at what's happened 7, 8, 9, 10 days ago in crypto, like we've had a red candle, but it was pretty tiny, right? If you're comparing that to the SPX, I mean, we've had quite the show there, and didn't translate to crypto. What does that mean? What can you do with it? It just means that crypto is getting bid, right? So Bitcoin's getting bid. You have people interested in buying crypto, and this is a tweet that I did a few weeks ago where I was like, where I was saying, when you're getting downside or any volatility in the traditional markets, what you have to kind of look at first is how strong are the crypto markets in comparison to the traditional markets, right? And in this case, they were really strong. So what do you expect? You would expect them to outperform on the way up. So if the traditional markets kind of find a bid, you'd expect them you'd expect Bitcoin to go up even more, and that's what happened, right? So you don't need to technically, like if you're getting a move that is almost entirely caused by the traditional markets, you don't have to stick to the TA or the levels that you have like 1-to-1, because I mean there's context there. You have context that the move that kind of broke the support, like we reclaimed the support, the move that broke the support was based on the traditional markets more so than anything that happened in crypto. So you can either just ignore it and just stay in the position that you've built before, or you can just get in once it's reclaimed, right? And both did pretty well. So if you got anywhere in here or on the reclaim. Both are really nice. And beginning of the week, I talked about on Weekly Open. I don't know if you guys are watching that, but I talked about this support being really good, that we've reclaimed it and that I was expecting higher, and that's what happened, right? So now what do we do now? We're kind of chilling at all-time high resistance. Sometimes crypto or like in general markets like to kind of pull back a little and then go, but in general I wouldn't want to be bearish here, just based on the fact that double tops like this, they can play out, but I'd much rather be bearish below 52, or in this case even below 50, than up here, because market's been really strong. So you'd expect it to go up. We wrote about this, TechnicalRoundup newsletter.com. Kretz on top of the shill game. So if you want to check the newsletter out, he's posted a link. I was sleeping, could not get in. Oh man, Kret always sleeps when I stream. Random side note. So when Bitcoin correction done? Never. It's gonna correct at some point, right? But what you can do is take it day by day, support by support, resistance by resistance, right? So you're like, okay, this is super overextended, so I wanna be bearish, I wanna get out, I wanna in general just chill a little. What you can do is you just always look at the nearest support, right? And in this case, we've had support in here, it bounced from there, ran into resistance, reclaimed that, and as long as that is reclaimed, as long as that is support, it's all good for upside, right? So let's say this puts in, goes in higher, puts in another support somewhere along the lines, pulls back. As long as the support holds, you can just be bullish. And if it breaks, chill a little, expect a pullback, and if it kind of doesn't break down, it's probably just gonna keep on going. But it doesn't really make much sense to just kind of be like, okay, I'm tired of this, so the market has to be tired too. That can work, but generally speaking, the market doesn't really give a shit about you. It's just gonna move how it wants to, and you're just there for the ride, right? So. Don, are you waiting for the top to trade Bitcoin pairs like 17? Kinda, yeah. I think we're gonna see the Bitcoin top, and this is, I love when the market starts doing this. I think we're gonna see the Bitcoin top when the old coins are actually gonna like start bouncing again, like besides ADA, but like Bitcoin Cash, that kind of stuff. At least a low time frame to mid time frame top on Bitcoin. Like let's say Bitcoin Cash, like Bitcoin goes up further, Bitcoin Cash cannot keep up, goes down. At some point, both get overextended, and then you get a big bounce. And that is kind of what I want to be trading on the old school coins. And that's my favorite setup. That's what I did like multiple times in the past. Like this time, for example, got a really nice entry there. And in general, just how this market likes to behave. Same here. So whenever Bitcoin super overextends, these old coins take a shit, and then you can kind of play. What you can do if you absolutely do not want to be like less exposed to crypto, is you can just shift your Bitcoin into the old coins, into these older ones. Like Bitcoin's topping out, you shift your Bitcoin into old coins, and then try to get a rally off of those. So yeah, that is something I definitely would like to see. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to happen. It's just been painful to watch. I was right on these old coins. I wasn't right on the DeFi stuff, even though like we switched views pretty early, but still, my bigger thesis for the old coins was right for at least the bigger, older stuff that no one really cares about anymore. So I've got that going for me. But yeah, I still think that's going to probably play out. It's usually how these markets work. You get Bitcoin topped out, and then you start getting bottoms on the Bitcoin pairs. Yeah. But yeah, Bitcoin, like I said, not much reason to worry. I think this is the nearest support, 52k. That shouldn't break, and it's reasonably far away now. So I mean, you wouldn't expect it to. And if we start breaking the all-time high, what happens is, and I don't think this is too strong of a resistance, so I don't have it on my chart. But if we break the all-time high, that's gonna turn into support. So that's something to watch. And if that fails, at that point, that's the new invalidation, right? So if this breaks out, you have a new invalidation, which is down here. If it doesn't break out, if it pulls back, invalidation is still 52k. Guys, please like the DonAlt stream. Appreciate you asking, mate. You nailed DOGE would start yet. I mean, DOGE just DOGE. That's been really nice analysis-wise for me. I mean, I nailed this on the TA side of things. I didn't nail it on the trading side of things because getting filled isn't so easy, and I didn't get my full position. But like I literally said 15 sats, and that was the Pico bottom. I was hoping it would actually take it out so I could get a massive bag, but I mean, it just never did. So yeah, and now Dogecoin is actually something that we can talk about real quick. I mean, that just looks pretty pitiful. Still has support, so I don't want to trash talk it too much. But I'm not entirely sure if that's going to hold. DonAlt, are you an alpha male? What kind of question is that, brother? I'll let Chad handle that one. He's an alpha duck. I mean, that sounds about right. But yeah, so that was Bitcoin. It's relatively, I mean, it's pretty clear cut, right? High time frame wise, we still have support down here. So if everything fails, I mean, that's okay, everything went to shit. So I want to, like, if you want to have a panic plan, that's the way to go. That is the panic plan. Shit hits the fan. This is the support. Now, are we going to get there? I'm not entirely sure. It's just, if everything goes wrong, you know, worst case is we go there and then we reevaluate, right? So yeah, there's not that much to talk about on Bitcoin. ETH, on the other hand, has been, I mean, it bounced pretty nicely from all-time high. We talked about this. I don't like, and you can kind of see why I don't like the bounces from all-time high. I mean, it did bounce pretty nicely, right? And you're seeing a bit of strength come in. But the reason why I don't like ETH going all the way back to all-time high is just the weakness that you can see on the Bitcoin pair, right? So the Bitcoin pair is struggling really hard. I mean, it makes sense. Bitcoin just went off, and usually ETH cannot keep up with it. So that's kind of been the issue. But I mean, you saw relative weakness on the USD pair because Bitcoin never retested its all-time high. You can kind of see this here, 20k broken, and then it just shot off. And that's strength, right? That's strength right there. And then you have ETH, and that retested its all-time high pretty much immediately. And yeah, it's going up, but it's going up much less than Bitcoin is, even on positive narrative, right? So we have the EIP narrative going, and it's still underperforming. Now, I don't want to be the bad tart here. It's trading new support, but to be a bull chart for me would have to break the resistance, and that's the big milestone. It's not that far away. It's not a tough ask, right? I mean, that's 16%. Any other altcoin does that in a day. ETH's just kind of been struggling, but if it can reclaim that, I think there's a good chance that we just go to the next resistance, and the next serious resistance, in my opinion, is up there. So basically 2x. ETH is so bearish, no pump on great news, but tons of people chilling ETH on CT. Is it worth it? I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, ETH's not been performing terribly poorly macro-wise in the last year, almost 2 years now. I mean, it's just gone sideways with a little bit of upside. So, I mean, it's even outperformed Bitcoin from the bottom that it set a while ago. So it's not that bad. It's just right now it's struggling a lot, and I can see why people would want to play the lagging pair, and that's been the name of the game for most people for some reason. I've seen EOS be shilled. I've seen TRX been shilled, just based on the fact, oh, we have DeFi coins going up, so these have to too. And you can kind of see in these charts, and that is not necessarily the case, right? If you've bought any of those, you're not really happy. I mean, you're not sad yet because, I mean, disregarding like if you bought up here somewhere, but in the last few weeks, you're not really sad about it because, I mean, nothing really happened, but I mean, you can't really be happy about it either. Litecoin, another Laggard meme. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? And this is why this kind of like simple TA is so nice, because we talked about Litecoin, and I was like, this is testing this resistance an awful lot. So I just want to see it close above, and then I'm more than happy to kind of get a position and just kind of bet on upside, right? And what happened was we just closed at resistance and then just shit the bet. And that's a very, very nice kind of thing to avoid, right? I mean, that's like 4, 5, 6% that you would miss if you're waiting for it, but you're kind of missing out on a 20% loss if you just give it some time. So you see if it closes above. So that's why I always kind of try to make it very clear that you actually want to see strength and you want to see it actually clear some resistances, and you don't want to just buy into the first green candle. And it's the same thing Bitcoin Cash, right? We talked about this. It's at resistance. It looked pretty decent at that point, and that's the thing, right? It can look decent at the exact top. But it would have been a trade if it actually reclaimed. And then, I mean, it doesn't really matter if it looks decent, right? You're like, oh, this resistance been tested a bunch of times. I want to get long, but I just want to see that last little bit. And then last little bit saved you a bunch of money on Bitcoin Cash, saved you a bunch of money on Litecoin, and saved you a bunch of money on pretty much anything other than the 5, 6, 7, 8 DeFi names that have been doing really well. Stimulus bill officially passed a few minutes ago. Oh, nice. Nice. Is that where the pumps come from? It's going to be an interesting one to watch. We'll see it live. But yeah, I mean, ETH's just a heartbreaker, really. And this one's just really shit, not going to lie. I mean, you always have to look at these things in context. So you can't just say, okay, this is really shitty of a bounce. I think it's going to go and just nuke completely. Because, I mean, the context is Bitcoin went up a shitload during this. So ETH bounced a little and then Bitcoin went up a shitload. So ETH couldn't pull up with it. So that's a little bit different than just ETH doing poorly on its own. But it's still something to watch, right? And this is not the reaction that you would want to see on positive news in a bullish market in general. ETH is up 25% in the last 7 days. It sucks. I mean, that's the thing, right? If you're looking at the USD pair, you're going to be happy no matter what you're looking at. I mean, I could literally pull you up a Bitcoin, a BitConnect chart, and I'm pretty sure if it was still trading, would be up against USD. I mean, we can, what kind of is the scammiest coin that you can think of? I mean, we can look at Hex USD. I mean, that isn't really up that much, but I mean, it's not down either, right? But if you're looking at, I don't know, like any kind of USD chart, even like we talk about Litecoin, how shitty Litecoin looked, right? Look at the USD part. I mean, you're happy with that, right? But I mean, that's not the point, right? You're sitting here in Litecoin USD and you're celebrating, but really what you're sitting in is this, which isn't actually like, it's kind of ranging a little bit. On the lower time frames, but you get my point, right? Or Bitcoin Cash looks absolutely hideous on the Bitcoin pair. I mean, that's just fine, right? And that's the thing. I mean, you gotta have to pick your battles, and if you're getting outperformed by Bitcoin of all things, yeah, you're just risking more to gain less, which isn't a good thing. Verge, yeah, I mean, Verge. I bet Verge is up against USD as well. Oh shit, Verge's up a lot. So, I mean, that's the thing. In a bullish Bitcoin market, everything is going to be up against USD. So it's more about, okay, where do you actually trade than it is about, okay, this is up or this is down, because everything is going to be up. So, yeah. Anything that you guys want to talk about on the bigger side of things? As in like on the majors or Link or that kind of stuff. I mean, Dogecoin we kind of briefly went over. Anything on that front, or do you just want to talk about the shitcoins that you guys have? Because I'm down to do either. I'm down to talk about other stuff as well. Like I said, today's been a little busy, so I haven't really prepared too much. So I'm down to just go at it, see what you guys want to do. Basically, purpose of altcoins are to gain Bitcoin. That's it. I mean, for most of them anyway. Yeah. For me, that's the way I like to trade. Link. Okay, someone wants to talk about Link, so we'll talk about Link. And that's the big disconnect here as well on both pairs. So if you're trading Link, right, you're pretty happy. You're making new highs. We talked about this last time as the invalidation of bullishness, which is a shitload away, right? But the USD pair is up a shitload. You're pretty happy there. It's bouncing from support. This is actually pretty nice weekly support. But then you look at the Bitcoin pair and you're massively disappointed, right? And this looks completely trash. Now it's approaching support again, and I'm gonna have a close look at how it responds there, if it shows some strength or not. But what this has been, and this is kind of funny because we talked about this in the past. I think we talked about it when it was trading down here. I was like, it can double and it would still be a bearish retest. And so far, it's kind of looking like that, right? So it almost doubled, went into resistance, and is now selling off. Now, as long as it holds this support down here, and I mean, I can make it green. Maybe it holds if I do that. As long as it holds there, it's fine, right? But I mean, this is not trending up anymore, in my eyes anyway. I mean, it depends on how you want to define market structure, but I mean, it's not set too low, so it's pretty difficult to say. But for me, this is at best like a sideways movement kind of thing, right? And you took out these lows anyway. So you could argue there was a low here and this lower low here, so whatever. Doesn't really matter. Anyways, it's not showing much strength. But I want to see how it reacts to the support down here. And if it can bounce there, and I think the next time we revisit this, it's probably going to break to the upside, right? And on the lower time frames, that's even clearer. And there's an earlier kind of entry trigger on a Link Bitcoin, which is this green box up here. If we can reclaim that again, I think it's just going to go. It just has to do that. And it's for the same reason that I told you guys about Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin earlier. You don't want to be getting in too early. Because these like 20 to 30% are the riskiest of them all. Once you're trading above there, I think there's less risk involved, and then you can take it to another 80%. And you have a pretty clear setup at that point too. So set like a stop loss-ish down there, take it to the highs. And in this case, like I could see this easily stopping the trade out, right? So that's my view on Link. I think the BitConnect can be the next BitConnect. I don't actually know if it's still trading. Does anyone know? It's probably not trading anymore. Stinky Link. I mean, I've cheered it on in the last few weeks. I've hoped that it would kind of pull in, take some highs. Like the Link Marines, I've kind of felt bad for them, but it's just not showing much strength. Holy shit! There's so many tickets again. Every time I talk about altcoins, it's just so many tickets, and I feel bad that I can't go through them all. Neo. Okay, we can talk about Neo. Neo is kind of struggling. It looked good for a brief second. Turned out to be a false alarm. So Neo is in a similar situation as Link. It's showing a little bit more strength, in my opinion. But what I want to see it do is reclaim this again. So what you sometimes see is these retests, because I mean those altcoins here, they're not super liquid, and they're not as widely traded as Bitcoin and ETH is. So they sometimes, I mean, you've had a resistance here, could have also drawn it here. So maybe that's just a poorly drawn resistance, whatever. But in my opinion, like these sometimes disregard levels a little bit. But what they rarely do is approach them twice and then don't go, right? So if this is the high, and I mean, it's looking like that right now, then it's just going to go down and it's whatever, right? But if it can kind of trade back in that area, and it's wise to set alerts there, if it does trade back in that area, manages to close back above, I would be very, very surprised if it stopped here. And I mean, I wouldn't even expect it to stop here. So I would just expect it to just go. Right now, it's showing a little bit of weakness. And I mean, you kind of have a swing high here. You want to see that hold. Like, let's say you're already in and you're like, okay, Don, I don't really care about your cautious entry up here. I'm already in. What do I do? You have a support down here. You don't want to see that get lost. That'd be bad news in my opinion. And then really bad news is if the swing low gets taken, because what you've done is you kind of stepped up. And if you take this one out, it's showing weakness. If you take this one out, I mean, it just looks like trash. And but if it does trade back above, I mean, I think there's good room to go on NEO. So yeah, all these old coins aren't doing too hot, and the new ones, they're doing fine-ish. You should use a submitted poll. Yeah, the problem that I have with that kind of stuff is that every time I do it, right, you just get bots. Like, I've done that on Twitter as well, where I just ask for tickers and stuff, and then the most viewed thing is just bots, and that sucks because I mean, it doesn't really do anything, right? It's just then I'm gonna have to look at like literally the biggest scams, so it doesn't really help. I wish I could do it though. Uni BTC. Okay, we can look at Uni. Uni's been doing pretty well, all things considered, but it's pulling down like a little as well. And I mean, reason for that is obvious. Bitcoin's just showing massive strength, and yeah, I don't like this. Is the kind of stuff I usually don't like too much. You've taken out that resistance and then you trade it back below it. So this is now very, very strong resistance. Let's say this bounces, that's going to be very, very strong resistance. And I don't really see a good reason to get like hyper bullish on it before it is reclaimed. What you can do, however, if you're mega bull, you can look at this support. Now that's quite aggressive, and if you're buying into this, and I mean that stuff has been working, so don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily the worst play, but if you're getting into this and anything happens, there's a bunch of people that have their stop losses down there. So what happens is you're going to have to be ready to take a massive L if you get stopped out, right? It's still, like that's been the thing for these altcoins. What they've been doing is they kind of just went to the first support and then just bounced from there. Never wiping people out, or very, very rarely. I mean, this was one of the few times that it actually did. So, I mean, that's been, like, the first support has been really good pretty much all the way. Like, you've had support here, wicked into it, and then just went. You've had support in here. You wicked in it, and then just went. So, I mean, technically, and depending on how you want to draw it, I wouldn't use this anymore. It's already been used. I think this is the better one. Now, technically, that's support, like I said, but I mean, that's just, you just have to be ready to take a big L there. And that shit happens, right? That's trading. If you're taking the aggressive kind of entries, sometimes you get stopped out with pretty much everyone else. And I think everyone that is trading this chart is looking at that support. And yeah, how that translates to the USD pair is a little bit difficult to explain, because I mean it's just been straight up, and I mean it makes sense to look at both, right? So let's say Uni pulls back to the support, and it looks bullish there. And then you have the Bitcoin pair, and something that you can do is just look at them both, even at the same time. Technology is a wonderful thing. But yeah, so you have support here, right? And you have support here at that high. So what you can do, and what is most likely to get you in a decent trade at least, is if this dips into support and this is at support at the same time, the chances of it bouncing are much, much higher than if it's just one. So you want to be looking at both. You want to see, okay, is there strength at that level? Is it at the same time at a Bitcoin level that is actually decent? And then if both of that is true, you're probably going to get a decent trade. And if that doesn't hold, right, let's say both of those hit support and don't hold, then something significantly has changed, because that's not happened before. Confluence meme, yeah. I mean, it's what it is, right? I mean, you can talk about it as many times as you want, but it's always like people always get sidetracked and kind of too certain on things on one chart. I mean, it's the same for me. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, this is definitely this, and then I forget to look at the other chart, which is most of the time the USD pair, because I like to look at the Bitcoin pair most. And I'm like, missed something obvious there. So always look at both. Not everyone trades against Bitcoin, so in general, the look at the USD pair would be appreciated. Yeah, the thing is, and this is something that you can, like, if you're like sitting there and you're like, why is Don talking about these Bitcoin pairs? I don't care about them, right? The way you can kind of look at it, if I'm saying, okay, I think this Bitcoin thing goes up, right? This looks good. And I mean, we've been talking about Bitcoin going up since like 49-ish, whatever. So if I'm talking about that and I'm saying, okay, this looks good, and then I'm looking at the Bitcoin pair and I'm like, okay, this looks good, then the USD pair of that altcoin is gonna go up most likely, right? I mean, I'm not saying I can kind of tell the future, but that means I'm basically bullish that USD pair. Because, I mean, if I'm bullish Bitcoin and I'm bullish the Bitcoin pair of an altcoin, then I'm bullish on the USD pair of the altcoin as well, right? So you can kind of tell. And then if the opposite is true, right? If I'm saying I'm looking at this and Bitcoin looks good, and this altcoin and I'm looking at a Bitcoin pair that doesn't mean I think the USD pair has to go down, right? Because if Bitcoin goes up and the altcoin pair goes down a little, I mean, you still gained on the USD pair on the trade of the altcoin anyway. I know that's confusing, and I've got headaches, so it's tough to explain, but you get the point, right? So the USD pair of an altcoin can go up even if you're bearish the Bitcoin pair, and you just kind of have to, like, that's why I'm saying if you have the confluence of both, it's just nice, because then you have you're like bullish on Bitcoin, you're bullish on the altcoin, and then you have a double boost. Basically, shit goes up hard, and that's the best way to trade, in my opinion. Is it true that ducks have big dicks? What a question. It's actually true, though. It is actually true, and I'm not. Oh man, I'm gonna get cancelled for this. Yeah, but ducks in general have the weirdest kind of sexual reproduction organs in the world. It's wild. I mean, I can't recommend looking it up, but if you're interested, now that I've said it, I mean, look it up. It's fucking insane. Please, 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 Doug, look at KCS. Okay. Just because you said please so many times. KCS. Oh, that's KuCoin token. I mean, that's one of the ones that's just gonna trade like the exchange tokens. All do. So if BNB goes up, this probably goes up. If FTT does well, this does as well. I don't mind this. I mean, depending on how you draw support resistance lines, I mean, you could say drew it like this, and it's kind of looking meh. But I think this is actually like, I mean, this is the correct kind of horizontal to draw. And I think this is the support that you want to be watching. So down here. So you don't need to watch all of this stuff. So this looks good as long as it can maintain that level. And we've seen this kind of structure before on a bunch of coins, ADA for example, and that's done really, really poorly and just kind of nuking through it. So not entirely sure if this is gonna hold. But if you're in this and if you're looking for like playing it for like for a cycle in general, so you want to see it have a second leg, because this is really only the first leg, right? And if you're bullish in general on something, you want to see it do 2 legs. So one leg is done here, and then you want to see the second leg. And as long as it can maintain this, I think there's chance for a second leg. Now, is it gonna 100% come or not? I don't know. Like you can't tell the future. But this is support, so it's trading into support right now. And then you'll see if it gets bought or not. But I don't mind this kind of look on the chart. The problem with this obviously is that you're already up a bunch of times, so you're already up like 4x. But I mean, like for newer buyers, that can be a psychological kind of problem. But the trade is kind of like, if you start losing this, start closing back below, that's where you're wrong. And then your target, I mean, where's your target? Probably up here if you're conservative, and then a little bit higher, maybe up here if you're greedy. And that's a nice double on the upside into like minus 25% ish on the downside. So it's not a bad trade per se. It just depends on your view on the market in general. Jesus Christ, so many pairs. I can't handle them all. Don't need to trade timings. It's just better to own Bitcoin than anything else most times. I mean, if you really want to make big money, I mean, the best way to do it is just get a good move on an altcoin. But I mean, I agree, like the safest bet is just Bitcoin. You're probably going to make money with Bitcoin, that's the thing. And that's something I've been saying for years now. There's a good chance that if you're buying an altcoin and you keep it for the long term, you don't make money in the long term. And if you're buying Bitcoin in the long term, you're probably going to make money. The thing is, if you're trading or if you're buying an altcoin at the right time, you're going to make a shitload more than with Bitcoin. It's just how it is. But you have to time it really well. So you kind of have to know what you're doing. Update on BQX packs. I mean, I wish I could tell you that this dumping was me, but it's not. So my BQX packs are suffering a little bit. Again, I can cope with the USD pair because that isn't really doing too poorly. But yeah, I mean, this still looks fine-ish. But I mean, I wish I had more power and more say in the matter. For the people that don't know, I have a bunch. It's not too much. I have a bunch of BQX that are sent to a wrong address that I'm getting back, but it's taking a while. So I can't actually do anything with it. It's up a shitload, and I can't do much with it until I get it back, and it's been taking months. So, Don, what are your thoughts on NFTs? Do you guys want to talk about NFTs? Any interest in the NFT talk, or do we just skip it? I mean, the short version of it is, I think most of it is trash. And some of it is like pretty cool. So if you're buying random NFTs, you're gonna lose money. If you're buying like actual stuff that people might collect in the future, you might still lose money because the valuations are really high. But yeah, holy shit, there's strong opinions there. Like a few people say strong yes, a few people say strong no. But yeah, in general, how you want to be looking at the NFT kind of space, right? So I mean, you guys know how the art market works, right? A bunch of people, like the majority of artists, make jack shit, right? No one really gives a shit. And you have a select few that make a shitload of money. That's how the NFT world is gonna play out as well. Most of the art and most of the NFTs that are out there are just garbage. They're not worth anything. Now, I don't want to shit talk these artists. I mean, they do good work, and the NFT artists probably do too. But that's just how art works in general, right? That's how music works. That's how pretty much anything in the creative space works. You either make it or you don't. And if you don't, your shit's worthless, even if it's good. And if you make it, your shit's worth a lot. But I mean, it's pretty low chances that happens. So how you have to look at it is not, okay, I'm trading crypto here, blah blah blah. You have to look at, okay, is this something that people would want to collect in the future? Is this something that people have like good or bad memories with? Is this something that is memeable rather than, okay, this is just nice artwork, whatever? Because no one gives a shit if there's nice artwork of something, but there's no one that really knows about it or like cares about it. I mean, it's just gonna be worthless. So don't be an idiot and just buy random shit. It's not gonna work out. But if you're looking at like stuff that other people are looking on as well, I mean, there might be something in there. But then again, like if you're thinking about like buying like punks or whatever with a floor of 40 ETH, I'm not entirely sure if that's gonna be like that for the long term. And about the long-term potential of it, I can't say. I have no idea. It goes beyond what I'm capable of. I've actually been thinking about like inviting an NFT specialist to the Friday show. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. But I think like everyone's talking about NFTs anyway, so it doesn't really like my view or Cred's view on the matter doesn't really add much to the discussion. Is it memeable? I mean, I'm serious. This is like, and this sounds super stupid, but is it memeable? Might be the most important question that you can kind of ask yourself in this space and in most other spaces as well, going into the future. I am a strong believer in memeonomics. I think memes, and it sounds stupid, I feel ridiculous saying it, but if you can or cannot meme something, it has huge implications for if it's going to do well or not. So I'm serious when I say that, as stupid as it sounds. So yeah. Could you please take a peek at Band? We can take a peek at Band, yeah. So USDT wise, you have support here, right? And that's why we're bouncing from. Now, it's not looking like too strong, just based on the fact that Bitcoin just giga mooned. I mean, it's pulling back a little now, but you get what I'm saying, right? And this is just barely up. So what I look at this and I already know how the BTC pair is gonna look, and it's not like, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not pretty. Yeah, there you go. So in this case, right, you can kind of see why I'm so adamant to at least look at both, even if you're trading just the USD pair, because I mean this shows you what's going on, right? The USD pair looks pretty decent. I mean, it's not bad. It looks weak in comparison to, like, if you compare it to something else, but it alone doesn't look too bad. Now, if you're looking at this is pretty much a bearish retest. And as long as that's not cleared, I'm not too fond of it. I think if it does get cleared, that's a good way to kind of go up there. But like until that happens, you're kind of playing with fire. Now, you could obviously, and this is something that you can always do on these, if you think altcoins are going up, like these, as stupid as of a trade as it looks, right? These kind of trades can work out. Like you're like, okay, I think the bottom's in. This is low enough that it just makes sense, and you just play it into resistance, right? If you're bullish on altcoins, this is how you can kind of play them. But it really depends on your outlook on the altcoins, right? And I generally don't like to play altcoins like this when I see ETH performing weak, when I see ETH at resistance on the Bitcoin pair. That kind of stuff doesn't make me want to do this. But if you see something that you want to be seeing on the altcoins, you can take these setups, and then they sometimes play out. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best trade, but it's okay. I wouldn't take it currently, just based on how ETH is looking, right? And how Bitcoin, like how close Bitcoin to all-time high is. So when you have Bitcoin at all-time high, you're risking a lot just by, okay, if Bitcoin puts in a 5K candle to the upside, or if it even rejects 5K to the downside, you're probably not going to have much fun in the altcoins. Memetics. Yes, please, would love to hear an expert on the NFT thing. I mean, we're gonna have some interesting guests before, like, we're gonna talk with Larry tomorrow actually, and then it's gonna be pre-recorded, the Friday show. So I hope you guys will tune in anyway, because Larry is gonna be super interesting to talk to. But next week, maybe we can talk about it next week. Can you look at YFI? We can look at YFI. Yeah, it's actually a really interesting pair to look at, just based on the fact that it was the DeFi leader, and it's been doing really, really poorly. Why did I add it? I know that I have it somewhere. I'm blind. Whatever. I'll just look it up. I know that I have it in my list somewhere. So yeah, Wi-Fi has been doing really, really poorly in comparison to the DeFi space as a whole, and in general, it's just been doing really poorly against Bitcoin. And it's the same thing, and I hate to say this so often, but I think I've driven the point home, so I'll just not say it again. But I mean, both are important. If you look at the USD pair, I mean, that's not looking too terrible. It's actually not looking good, even on the USD pair, which is weird. I mean, it's not looking too terrible. It's just you have like this head and shoulder staring at you, which, I mean, is a little bit scary. Doesn't have to play out. I mean, whatever. But if this breaks support, I mean, it could, right? But yeah, so this tells the clearer story to me, where you have like a consolidation of sorts, but a consolidation where you test support a bunch of times. This reminds me of Bitcoin at 6K, basically, where you just bounced and bounced and bounced and bounced and then broke down. And I think that's probably going to happen on Wi-Fi as well. It doesn't have to mean that the USD pair goes down. If Bitcoin just pulls it up, this could stay sideways or even go up. But against Bitcoin, I'm not entirely sure if it's the best play. That would change, however, and I'll just delete this because, I mean, this isn't really saying too much. But that could change if we can kind of take this high out. So that's pretty good invalidation kind of level to look at. If you take that out, I mean, why not go up further? But as long as as long as that doesn't happen, I mean, this just looks weak. And I mean, no one can tell me this looks strong. It's at support, so I mean, it could bounce a little, but I mean, it's just looking weak. And it's actually pretty neat. Like, it's one of the clearest charts in a long, long time on the altcoins anyways. So you had like your support, you bounced from here, right? You had your support in here, bounced from it, and then you had your support in here, bounced from it. And now what we've done, and this is why, like, even on first glance, this makes me a little nervous. You can kind of see how that failed. Right, so you've had this situation where you had a low set in, you bounce from that low, you had a low set in, you bounce from that low, you have a low set in which is awfully close to the previous one, and then you don't bounce from it, you try to reclaim it and you fail, and that looks pretty bad. It went sideways while the DeFi pentamoon, yeah. I know there was a bit of controversy and stuff. It's kind of funny because, like, I'm really good at seeing this weakness on the altcoins. So something that we've talked about in the last few weeks was hedging other altcoin exposure with YFI, and it's something that I've done before with Link. I can't do it right now, so I mean, it's just me telling you guys my strategy. It makes it easier to talk about too, because I mean, usually I'm not the biggest fan to just get crowded trades. I mean, I think that's what Dogecoin, like, me sharing Dogecoin so much kind of fucked with me a lot. so I usually don't like to. But given that I can't do it right now, based on tax rules, I can share this. I like to look at the altcoin, like when I'm bearish in altcoin in a bullish market, right? I just like to short it and then long something else heavy. So I mean, in this case, you had a bunch of DeFi stuff look really good, and you had a YFI look bad. And it's the same sector, so you don't have to be like too worried about the entire sector going up, because if you short this a little bit, and then like let's say you're short YFI, so you short this, and then you have like this other coin that's been doing this, and you bought a little of that, a little bit more than you're short on this, even if the entire sector goes up, you're probably going to outperform. So I like to do that a lot. I like to look at, okay, which altcoin is strong, which altcoin is weak, and kind of minimize my exposure to the market while still making gains from it. And YFI is has been one of the ones that's just been weak in comparison to everything else. So when you see this, and I mean, it might start getting late for this, even though like the support's been battered, so I wouldn't be surprised if it just broke. But yeah, if you see this, if you spot it early, I mean, you can kind of see how it was fizzling out. You can make a bunch of money without having too much money at risk. It's one of the best ways to trade, in my opinion. Basically judging, okay, this is gonna go sideways at best, and I'm bullish on this other thing. So if everything goes to shit, I have a short going. If everything goes up, this is probably gonna underperform. So XM USD just dropped 20%. Did it? Let's look at the Bitcoin pair then. A good friend of mine is actually holding. Holy shit! Good friend of mine is holding this. Got mega rug pulled. What the fuck? It's actually a nice range, right? Went to resistance, it's just mega rug pulled. This for support now, this in here. So maybe it holds that. If it does hold that, that'd be good news. If it breaks down below it and closes below it, I think that's pretty fucked. Sounds like a Ponzi scheme. NEM. Don't tell me you don't know about NEM cred. Do you usually trade small numbers of altcoins with big size? You try to. I try to, yeah. So what you try to do in general is you don't want to be spread too thin if you're trading anyway, if you're investing, do whatever you want to. I'm not your dad. But if you're trading in general, you don't want to be in too much, because it's really hard to kind of look at everything and then just make that. Like, you're just going to have a lot of headaches, and then sometimes like you have a strong opinion on one coin and you just get in a bunch to diversify your trade or whatever, and then you get wrecked on a random coin that you diversified on, and it just ruins everything. So a better way to play it is you just get bigger positions on those, like in general, on the ones that you have high conviction in, and depends on the liquidity, of course, but nowadays you have pretty decent liquidity, so it shouldn't be an issue. Know the Wi-Fi, make a lot without a lot of risk. Yeah, I mean, what you're risking, right? What you're risking with what I just told you about, like looking for the strong one, the weak one, what can happen, and what sometimes does happen, I mean, it's trading after all, is that this mean reverts and your coin that you longed just goes sideways, so you're losing even though you've been overall bullish, right? So that can happen, but I mean, it's like any other trade, you can be wrong, but it's much, much easier to spot weakness relative to each other. So what I'm just saying, I mean, let's say you YFI Bitcoin against Uni Bitcoin. That's basically what I'm saying, right? So you can kind of see that YFI has been doing really, really poorly, and that was pretty obvious for a while. And you can kind of take that trade, and it's gonna do you good. Rounded up pretty nice, right? So you get what I'm trying to say. If you get the trade right, you make a bunch of money still. If you get the trade wrong on one end, you lose just a little bit. And if you get the trade completely wrong, I mean, you lose a little bit more, but it's still not as bad. So I like to do it, but I mean, it's not for everyone. What's your read on the GME situation? The GME stuff is so wild. I mean, every time GME goes crazy, markets just do not like it. GME goes up, the traditional markets pull back, whatever. I mean, it's been weird. In general, I mean, it makes sense, right? You have a bunch of people new to trading that just pile into the stock. I'm not surprised that it's going up, but I mean, it's way worse than playing crypto even. So what I'm trying to say with that is basically you're gonna get a rug pull on this sooner or later. It could go up and short squeeze for real. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we all know that this is gonna go and mega dump again. The question is, okay, how high does it go before? And I mean, for me, in general, what you want to be doing in trading, or in my opinion, the best thing that you can do in trading is you bullish something, you get a bullish setup, you long the shit out of it. That's a good thing, right? You're not bullish on this in general, but you get a bullish setup. I mean, you can long this, but you can also get rug pulled. You're trying to get confluence any way you can in trading and investing and whatever else you do. And this has okay, this is gonna go back to $10 or $15 at some point. Maybe it goes to maybe the new floor is $20 just because everyone talked about the stock so much. But I mean, it's not 250, but it could still easily go to 1K. And that is a lot of people are trading crypto the same way that scams pump the hardest, right? But the thing is, scams also dump the hardest. You're taking a bunch more risk than you need to. If you're trading stuff that you're actually bullish on, there's just much more upside to be had. I mean, I've got a lot of friends that are super bullish, that were super bullish lend, and I mean, I hate how this looks, but and you're bullish on this, you get a bullish setup, you long this, and then there's a bunch of, I mean, this is not even half of it, right? But there's a bunch of money to be made, and it's much easier to hold that as well. Now, if you're trading a scam, on the other hand, I'm not saying Aave isn't a scam. I have no idea. When I when I talked about scam, I was about to pull up link. But let's say you're trying to long a scam, whatever. What happens is, yeah, you could this pumps pretty hard, but at some point it's just gonna retrace it all. So you're gonna have to you don't have the long term kind of tailwind that you want to have, is what I'm saying. And that is dangerous, in my opinion. It's not something that you try to have tailwind in your trades as well. So if you're long-term bullish on Bitcoin, for example, it's much easier to pull the trigger and hold it for longer. And if you're bearish on it, I mean, just trade something else. This is the GME complacency bounce, perfect exit point, IMO. It depends. It's really hard to judge that one. In my opinion, it could easily double from here still. But I could I wouldn't want to touch it. That's what I'm saying. And if I made money with it, I mean, I'd take this as well. This is pretty nice. Got a good kind of rally. It's a good exit point. Now, could it double easily? Could it triple even? Yeah. But if you're looking at it, this is your trade basically. Depending on if you're using stop loss or whatever, could this double? Right? It could. So let's say it can go to 142, whatever, because 42 is cool. Now, on the downside, where could this go realistically? And then you have like 15 maybe. I mean, it could easily go back down there as well. So this is the kind of trade that you're taking. With a downside of 95%, and then you have to kind of judge, okay, is this something that you actually want to be taking? And I think this is even a tall ask, right? And this is this is almost 100% likely to happen at some point. This is not a sure thing. So yeah, you have the risk reward tool, whatever, in there. This is even a 4x, right? I put in a 4x just for shits and giggles because everyone's targeting 1K. But I mean, I think this down here is 95% chance to happen, and this is 5% chance to happen. So I wouldn't take this risk reward, even though like it's a 3.5 or whatever. So it's up to you, really. Like trading these scam pumps, whatever. Some people really like it, and some people make a shitload of money of it, and then most people just lose a shitload of money. Now it's caught up and done slow as fuck. Yeah, you did the faster speed kind of thing. I love to do that too. I can't watch YouTube nowadays without doing it faster. Matic doing the reverse Matic. Yeah, I've seen Matic Moon. I haven't looked at it today because I've been busy, but it's so wild, man. It's the new Dogecoin, huh? Actually trades like Dogecoin. It's hilarious. And this is like why I like these reclaims so much. You get a reclaim, it's just pentamoons. And it goes all the way to the next, like to the highest resistance. So there's a shitload of room there. And we've had a bunch of setups that look similar to this one. So, I mean, if you like to trade this way, if you still think there's some room to go on the altcoins, I mean, why the fuck not? Coinbase listing, yeah. I mean, it's BNB, for example, did the same thing though. Doesn't have to be like the catalyst can be anything really. Where's my BNB? There's my BNB. Same kind of structure. Oh yeah, sorry. I just looked at Matic and was like, oh wow, and then I didn't talk about it. So yeah, I went to resistance. It's like the Doge play. You want to be playing now to resistance. Now, could it go higher? Of course, but like on the trading side of things, I think that's pretty much where you go. You take it from support or wherever you like range low to the highest resistance. Now, could it go higher? Obviously, and if you're bullish on this longer term, why not? Right? I mean, what you can do is it's just like set an arbitrary kind of line. I mean, maybe this down here, and you're like, okay, I don't want to see it lose that. Maybe go on the lower time frames. Say, I mean, this is better than the arbitrary line that I pointed out earlier. You say this doesn't, like, this is the invalidation of that trade, and I think it's actually a pretty decent one. And you just hold, and you're fine with taking a 50, like it's not 50, but like 20 to 30% haircut if it does fail. I mean, sometimes you have to kind of take those risks, right? And I mean, for example, for myself, I mean, this took an easy 40% haircut and then went up another like 2-3x. And that's the kind of thing that you sometimes just have to do if you want to sit out an entire cycle. So either you trade it and you take it from support to resistance and then you're done with it, or you try to play the entire cycle, and then sometimes you just give back most of what you've made. Holy shit, they just approved the bill. Yeah, it's interesting that Bitcoin's dumping on it, or like dumping. I mean, it's a strong word for like a few hundred down, but it's not going up anyway. Thoughts on Uni? We talked about Uni before. I think, did we? I mean, I know I've had it up, but did I actually say anything about it? Oh yeah, I did. I remember. Yeah, so this is support down here. And if that fails, I mean, I wouldn't want to bid this one. So if you're aggressive, that's the support you're looking at. We did, yeah. My memory is shit. Whenever I don't sleep much, I get headaches and my memory just goes to shit. So today it's been a long day and I've had headaches all day. Just slept like 5 hours or so. Bitcoin dominance. I'm really not a fan of Bitcoin dominance. I've gone on this rant before. Reason why is because I'm pretty sure I still have it on the... No, I don't have it on the chart anymore. Reason why I think, like, in general, Bitcoin dominance should be trading to down, like trending down to next to nothing. Because you only have one Bitcoin, you have a bunch of altcoins, and the altcoin amount can only go up, and Bitcoin cannot change, right? So you have an equation where the one side always goes up, and the other one stays the same. So this should always trend down. And the more altcoins get added, the more diluted it gets, and then other altcoins can get added. You're sitting in an altcoin, a bunch of new altcoins get added, and you're still losing out, right? Like this could dump by 10% by a new listing, and you still don't make any money, and you can't really trade it either. So it's not really helpful in my eyes. Now I know a few people that do kind of look at it a lot. I mean, if you can kind of make something off of it, fine. But for me, it just doesn't make much sense to look at it and kind of waste the time doing so. Tiny violin. Oh man, it's the weed. No, it's I don't smoke that often. ETF to be announced. Does that mean? No, what does TAN mean? But in general, the ETF thing is really interesting because we talked about this before with Max. If you haven't watched that video, go watch that because it's really good. I mentioned it offhand, but what I said was that I wouldn't be surprised if Grayscale was converted into an ETF, and it's kind of starting to look like they are planning on doing so. Not entirely sure if they're gonna get it through, but I wouldn't be surprised if the first American ETF was Grayscale. It's not my kind of. I'm not an expert in it, but I mean, it just makes sense to me. Now, is it gonna happen or not? I don't know, but they're at least looking into it. That I know. It's an ETF, TAN. Okay. I mean, that's a completely different market. Oh, actually, a friend of mine told me about this. It's not looking too bad, right? I mean, it's not my market, and if you're not like familiar with the market, don't necessarily just use blanket TA on it. But I mean, it's just support, right, on the high time frames, and on the traditional markets, you can easily use the monthly or even the quarterly charts. If I consider trade, should I wait for it to enter Bitcoin at 52K, or can you offer another option? I mean, in general, I don't like to give like trading advice like that, just when I don't have it set up or anything. But yeah, 52 is the next support. You're trading at resistance, 52 is the next support. So any kind of reasonable trading would be looking at 52. Now, are we going to reach that? I don't know. But if you're asking me, hey, what should I do? I mean, that's a reasonable area to have some bits at. If that gets taken out, you're wrong. And then you have to kind of get out and see where it goes. But in general, 52K is a good support. So that's the first support area that we have anyway. Now, if you want to be looking at the lower time frames, take a lower time frame trade, go ahead. It's not my market anymore on the lower time frames, just based on the fact that I can't trade on leverage right now. So the lower time frame things don't matter to me too much. And when I'm not looking at it, you kind of lose touch. You have to, like for the lower time frames, you have to constantly be watching them. Otherwise, you're losing touch. Don, since you've been accused of not having friends, you always pull up one. It's true. It's true. It's all just a farce. I don't actually know anyone. Even Kretz, a figment of my imagination. Is that something that you say? Yeah. I mean, that's just. It's a sad life of a duck. I mean, a duck on the internet. What do you expect? Legit can confirm. That's how it is. You hear me typing away in the chat. But yeah, I think that's enough for today. It was a little bit all over the place. We looked at a few altcoins, talked about a bunch of stuff. I promise it's going to be a little bit more structured next time. Today is just, I can't. It's been a long day. But I think it was good nonetheless. Appreciate you coming by, hanging out, and appreciate Blockfolio for sponsoring the episode, or in general the show. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. And looking forward to purely commercial relationship. What's that supposed to mean? Kretz already talking shit again. It's not true. He's still angry at me that I've not visited during COVID. And I've said already that I feel bad about it, but it's not my fault. Can't do anything about it. But yeah, appreciate you guys coming by. And like I said, we're gonna talk with Larry. That's gonna be really interesting. I think it's gonna come out on Friday, usual time. It's just not gonna be live. But maybe I don't actually think I can make it even to the premiere. But I don't know what Cred's gonna be doing, if he's gonna hang out in the chat or if he's got better things to do. But yeah, it's gonna be really good. I already know. So yeah, see you guys live on next Monday and then Wednesday again. Bye bye.